Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, Chairperson and MD at Biocon, joining in on the show right now. Kiran, hi, good morning. Great to have you on ET Now as always. And before I talk about business at Biocon and where it's headed, I just want to talk about the state of the economy because that's what we've been discussing on a minute-by-minute basis. And I recall when one goes through your tweets also, you've been pretty vocal about what the government needs to do, what really is the need of the hour. Why don't you use ET Now as a platform to really put your message across out there?
Well, I think I've been quite, candid about what we need to do to, get this virtuous cycle of investment, consumption and jobs going. And I think, although there needs to be a much more holistic solution of, how do you get consumption going, there are many things to be done. Of course, in terms of investment, you've got government spending that will kickstart this virtuous cycle. But let me for a moment just focus on India Inc. and the private sector. And there I really believe that the reduction in corporate tax to 25% is extremely important to kickstart investment and investor sentiment. I also believe reducing the GST levels and getting rid of the 28% GST will improve consumer sentiments and will actually bring down cost of many of these items, right from automobiles to white goods. So I really think that we need to look at some of these quick fixes and not wait for too long for a very holistic solution.
Shaw, good morning. Nikunj also joining in. For the longest time I've been tracking corporate India. I've never heard this kind of a disenchantment in terms of committing capital to work. Good days, bad days, periodic slowdown, cyclical up and down always happens in the economy. But for the first time when I meet some of the most promising entrepreneurs of India Inc., they're quite reluctant to commit to capital. Either they don't want to take a risk or they don't feel safe about taking a risk, or they don't see an opportunity. I mean, this is not bad news, but this is very bad news.
Yeah, absolutely. When there's no demand, when the demand is declining, why would you, get, any capital expenditure going? I mean, except for, organizations like us who have a very strong export focus, where we are seeing very large opportunities for us, and therefore we are one of the few companies actually expanding our businesses and investing in both brownfield and greenfield projects. And we are certainly actually seeing a huge capital investment. Other than that, I don't see much happening in many other sectors because I think the demand is just simply not there.
And in your understanding, a slowdown, is this temporary or is this structural? And by bringing interest rates down or cutting GST, some would argue that you may fix the short-term demand more like a band-aid approach. This is not a long-term solution because, when you cut down GST from 20 to 18, yes, it will lead to near-term demand, but then ultimately somebody has to also buy the product at 18%. I hope you're getting the reference of my question, that by cutting rates and by bringing GST taxation structure down, you may fix the demand in the short term, but that's not a long-term solution.
No, but that's exactly what I said, Nikunj. I said, there is a holistic solution required, which also means that you need to basically loosen up the credit flow to consumers. But, I do believe you still need those quick fixes because you do need that short-term demand to start kicking in some kind of economic turnaround. Because otherwise you're just going to sort of keep having this vicious cycle of will this happen if we do this? Will that happen if we don't do it? I mean, we can't be in that kind of a no decision zone. We just have to do certain things and then follow up with other things that need to be done to boost consumption. I think that's what it is. And if we don't remove the 28% GST, I don't think you're going to have any kind of consumer sentiments boosted. I mean, it's crazy to have a 28% GST in the first place, according to me.
All right.
Let's talk about, the business outlook then, Kiran, and in particular the biosimilar theme. Do you think it's going to intensify for Biocon in the second half with, a spate of new launches? And despite the initial hiccups, do you think you remain well placed to gain from the favorable push on that front, particularly in regulated markets? What will be the strategy for growth there in developed markets?
We remain extremely confident of delivering very strong numbers this fiscal. I think, in my some of my earnings calls, I have categorically said that not only are we going to see a good performance in the first half of this fiscal, but we expect an even stronger second half this fiscal because of the launch of biosimilar trastuzumab in the US market. And I think we remain very committed to that kind of business outlook, because I for one believe that even though we've had a surprise entry of Amgen with their biosimilar trastuzumab, I believe that the market is huge and we have a very good opportunity to really make a very credible play. And I'm sure with the kind of early entry opportunity that we have, compared in terms of the few players that exist today, I think we can do a very good job. And I think that's as far as the US market. Of course, we've already entered the European market and we're going to see traction there as well. I think the recent Mylan Upjohn merger announcement also augurs well for biosimilars in China. I think Upjohn has a very strong presence in China, and that actually could open up huge opportunities for our business going forward for biosimilars in China, which I think is an enormous market which needs to be tapped into. And this actually gives us a very good opportunity to do so.
Draw a parallel here for the benefit of our viewers. Biocon has an old traditional business and a new business, the biosimilar business, which is high growth, higher margin, and a unique business and the USP of Biocon. Can I say that for next 2 or 3 years, the company is on a cusp of a transition where the old business will grow at a so slow rate, but that's the old legacy low margin business, and the biosimilar business will grow at a higher rate. So the old business will get reducing and the new business will go higher. But by the time the transition will take, it could be 2 years to about 24 months.
I think you're asking a question which is loaded with perceptions, because I think you must understand that Biocon's legacy business, which you call our APIs business and now the newly emerging generics business, is certainly not a low margin business. I think the kind of APIs we are actually focusing on are specialty APIs which are not low margin APIs. We are also getting into the generics business to make us a vertically integrated company in terms of our small molecules business. So you're going to see a very strong uptick in growth for sure. Yes, compared to our biologics business, I think relatively speaking, of course, the biologics business is a much higher margin business, and of course with the emerging opportunities, it is going to have a much higher growth trajectory than the other business. But having said that, I think you're going to see very strong growth across our businesses, whether it's research services, whether it's our small molecules business or the biologics business. And the biologics business is something, as you know, we want to basically create as a standalone business, and we would like to basically take it to the public markets in the foreseeable future, because we believe that is unlocking huge value for Biocon going forward.
Okay. Kiran, you've given us an overview in terms of where you're headed, and it's great to hear you sounding as confident as always. But just to address, perhaps some concern or questions raised by analysts, really, again on the biosimilar front, they have said that perhaps the growth there has been slower than expected. And while, of course, market share is expected to increase post the spate of new launches, just to get a sense from you, again, in terms of Do you feel there could be any other challenges on this front, whether it's with pricing pressure, whether it's with any other kind of dynamics we're seeing in some of these key markets like US and Europe? When do you see the market share increasing for some of these new products?
I don't know where the analysts are getting this kind of perspective on Biocon's biologics business. Just to put it into perspective, in Q1, you have seen almost a doubling of sales from 250 crores last fiscal to 480 crores this fiscal. I don't think that is slow growth by any stretch of anyone's imagination. This is high growth, high margin business that has been demonstrated quarter on quarter in the last several quarters, in the past. Going forward, I have categorically said this is going to increase even more. As far as the US is concerned, we've had a very strong entry with our fulfiller. We are very confident that you will see huge uptick in this particular segment over the coming quarters. I think we are very confident that with the increased capacity that is kicking in now, you will see a huge uptick in this performance as well. Trastuzumab, we are all set to go in the US because that is our biggest market opportunity, and we are very confident that this will be a big growth driver for us this fiscal and beyond. And as far as other markets are concerned, we are doing extremely well. I think the fact that you've seen this robust growth quarter on quarter in Q1 year on year indicates to you that we have a very, very strong business prospects for biosimilars. For instance, trastuzumab alone is close to a $7 billion market globally. And I think this is what the opportunity is for a company like Biocon, of course in partnership with Mylan and now Upjohn. And I think if you look at the forecast made by Upjohn in its announcement of the merger with Mylan, you can categorically see that biosimilars feature as a very, very strong component of their growth story and their growth trajectory. So I don't know where analysts are getting their information from. I personally believe there's too much speculation on the account of analysts who haven't quite understood this business very well. I think they need to spend a lot more time trying to understand the dynamics of this business. And I think as a company which is so focused on biosimilars, which is so uniquely placed, Biocon is the only company that is singularly going to be focused on biosimilars through its entity Biocon Biologics, with a very large portfolio of products. I think we have a huge market opportunity. We have very good partnerships. And we believe that this is a growth story which is a vertically integrated end-to-end growth story, which very few companies can boast of.
Absolutely, Kiran, and it's great to hear, again, all the details with regards to the plans going forward, and you clarifying so many things as well with the strategy there. Always wonderful speaking with you, and one can really pick up on the passionate agenda, with regards to some of those new launches and plans going forward as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, let's take a very quick break. We'll be back with more on the other side.